Welcome to the Fresno County Public Library's Literacy Service Center General Election California Ballots 2022. This 20-slide video will cover the propositions in the general election of 2022. Voter education is a part of the Literacy Center's efforts to help learners meet goals under the community member and citizen section of our goals workshop. The November 2022 general election California ballot has 7 measures qualified for the ballot. We will provide you information on what a yes and a no vote mean. The sources that we've provided will inform you on both sides of the issue in a nonpartisan way. The money spent for or against proposition was as October 15, 2022, and is subject to change. This video is meant to be watched all at once, paused, rewatched, shared, and you can write notes to help you become a more informed voter.
Proposition 1, guarantee abortion rights in state constitution. Proposition 1 would add the right to reproductive freedom to the California Constitution, meaning that the right to choose to have an abortion and to choose whether to take contraceptives would be a constitutional right in California. Proposition 1, a yes vote would change the California Constitution to include the right to choose to have an abortion or use contraceptives. The yes side has spent $14 million so far, and the key players on the yes side are Gavin Newsom, Senate pro tempore Tony Atkins, Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon. A no vote would not add these rights, and the state constitution would remain unchanged, though abortion would still be legal in California. The against side has spent $1.6 million, and the key players are the Republican Party of California.
Proposition 26, legalize sports betting on American Indian lands initiative. Proposition 26 legalizes sports betting, tax revenues for, and legalizes roulette and dice games at tribal casinos. A yes vote means 1, legalize sports betting at American Indian gaming casinos and licensed racetracks in California. 2, tax profits derived from sports betting at racetracks at 10%. And 3, legalize roulette and dice games such as craps at tribal casinos. Money spent on the for side is $59 million to date. The key players for this proposition are the Rincon Band of Luiseno Indians, Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, Pachanga Band of Luiseno Indians. A no vote means continuing to prohibit sports betting in California and roulette and dice games at tribal casinos. The against side has spent $44 million to date. Key players are the California Commerce Club, Hawaiian Gardens Casino, and the Bicycle Hotel and Casino.
Proposition 27, legalize sports betting and revenue for Homelessness Prevention Fund initiative. Proposition 27 would allow licensed tribes and gaming companies to offer mobile and online sports betting for adults 21 and older outside tribal lands. Gaming companies could only offer sports betting if they made a deal with a tribe and would create extremely high thresholds, making it all but impossible for smaller companies to compete. The proposition creates a new division within the state's Justice Department to regulate online sports wagering and additional powers to address illegal sports betting. A yes vote means legalizing online and mobile sports betting for persons 21 years of age and older, establishing regulations for the mobile sports betting industry, imposing a 10% tax on sports betting revenues and licensing fees, and allocating tax revenue to an account for homelessness programs and an account for tribes not operating sports betting. The for side has spent $170 million to date. The key players are BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings. A no vote means continuing to prohibit sports betting in California. The against side has spent $180 million, and the key players are the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, the Rincon Band of Luiseno Indians, and the Yocho Dehe Winton Nation.
Proposition 28, Art and Music, K-12 Education Funding Initiative. Proposition 28 would require the state to set aside 1% of revenue in the general fund for arts education in K-12 public schools. A yes vote on this proposition will direct an annual source of funding for K-12 public schools for arts and music education equal to, at minimum, 1% of the total state and local revenues that local education agencies receive under Proposition 98. A yes vote on this proposition will distribute a portion of the additional funding based on a local education agency's share of economically disadvantaged students and require schools with 500 or more students to use 80% of the funding for employing teachers and 20% to training and materials. The for side has spent $11 million, and the key players are Californians for Arts and Music Education in Public Schools, former Superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District, Austin Buettner, former U.S. Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, and the Los Angeles Unified School District. A no vote on this proposition means schools would not have to direct an annual source of funding for arts and music education. So far, there has been no money spent against this proposition, and no key players are listed.
Proposition 29, Dialysis Clinic Requirements Initiative. Proposition 29 would require kidney dialysis clinics to have at least one physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant with 6 months of relevant experience available on-site or via telehealth. It requires that clinics report infection data to the state and publicly list physicians who have an ownership interest of 5% or more in a clinic. Proposition 29 also prohibits clinics from closing or reducing services without state approval and from refusing treatment based on insurance type. A yes vote on Prop 29 means chronic dialysis clinics would be required to have a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant on site during all patient treatment hours. The for side has spent $7.8 million so far, and the key players are SEIU, UHW West. A no vote means chronic dialysis clinics would not be required to have a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant on site during all patient treatment hours. The against side has spent $86 million so far, and the key players are DaVita, Fresenius Medical Care, California Chamber of Commerce, and California Medical Association.
Proposition 30, tax on income above $2 million for zero emissions vehicles and wildlife prevention initiative. Proposition 30 would impose a 1.75% personal income tax increase on Californians making more than $2 million a year to fund a suite of climate programs, 80% of the money would go toward rebates for zero-emission cars and more charging stations. Half of that funding will go to low and middle-income residents, and a quarter of the tax money would provide funding to hire and train firefighters. A yes vote on Proposition 30 means increasing the tax on personal income above $2 million by 1.75% and dedicating revenue to zero-emission vehicle subsidies, zero-emission vehicle infrastructure, such as electric vehicle charging stations, and wildlife suppression and prevention programs. The fourth side has spent $48 million, and the key players are LIFT, California State Association of Electrical Workers, California Environmental Voters. No vote means no increasing the tax on personal income above $2 million by 1.75% and dedicating the revenue to zero-emission vehicle subsidies, zero-emission vehicle infrastructure, such as electric vehicle charging stations, and no wildfire suppression and prevention programs. Those against this proposition have spent $20 million to date. Key players are California Teachers Association, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Proposition 31, flavored tobacco products ban referendum. Proposition 31 will decide whether to overturn a 2020 law that prohibits the sale of some flavored tobacco products. A yes vote on Proposition 31 is to uphold the contested legislation, Senate Bill 793, which would ban the sale of flavored tobacco products. The for side has spent $38 million to date, and the key players are Michael Bloomberg and Kaiser. A no vote is to repeal the contested legislation, Senate Bill 793, thus keeping the sale of flavored tobacco legal in the state. The for side has spent $23 million, and the key players are RJ Reynolds, Philip Morris USA, National Association of Tobacco Outlets.
Remember, you do not have to vote on every proposition. You choose the ones you want to learn more about. If you only vote on some of the propositions, your vote still counts. Your vote matters. Here are some of our sources. We will list them below in the video, but we also wanted you to call your attention to these different sources. They're all nonpartisan, and they show both sides of each initiative. Again, thank you for watching this. Please like, subscribe, share if you care. We encourage you to vote. Know that the propositions will appear on all the ballots in the state of California. So if you have family members that live in other places in California, they will have the same propositions. So feel free to encourage them to learn more about the propositions again. In Fresno County, you may mail, drop, or visit a vote center, all before November 8th to make sure that your vote is counted. If you have any questions, call us at 559-600-9240. Again, we have 2 other videos that we've created. You're welcome to see those at your own time. Pause, share, go back, learn more about how much your vote counts. Thank you again for watching.